Hey everybody, it's Louise from Wildflower Wool, and thanks for joining me back here for a new episode of New Start Monday Knits. I have got a fantastic project to show you guys this week. It is all about knitting and designing without a pattern. But before I jump into that, let's backtrack to the last video where I asked you guys to give me a little input on what I should be casting on next. Should it be this hat or this ball of Noro? So my plan was, going back to the Christmas card, was to take this cute little hat with the pom-pom, those Fair Isle snowflakes, and the stripes, and recreate this design just from this picture, or casting on this Noro into a scarf, a pattern that I had already knit and wanted to reknit. So all of your comments were pretty split 50-50. Some people said both, which of course you know is going to happen. But I chose to go with the Noro first. I have the yarn ready for this, so this will be coming up in a very near future video. But for right now, I'm going to put the little hat on hold, and I'm going to show you this little scarf. This right now is just a gauge swatch. I was just playing around. I wanted to see really how the pattern was going to show up in this variegated yarn, and I'm happy enough with it. I mean, I knew it would show up better in a plain yarn, but I really wanted to see how it looked in Noro with these nice long stripes. There's definitely a right side up here and the wrong side. The wrong side, you don't see these nice clustered stitch near as well. So this is going to be my gauge swatch. This is going to be the star of probably next week's video, where we talk about how you can determine your yardage in a ball and how far it's going to go for your project. So this is just going to be put on hold. I'm not going to knit any more on it, but I did want to show you that I had started it and how it's working out. And I love this yarn. It feels really, really nice. It's 100% wool. I used a 6mm or a US 10, and I'm sure you guys realized my needles don't even match, but that's all right. The size matches. That's what matters. So I'm loving this project, but this is just the very beginning, tip of the iceberg for this project. This is going to get all pulled out and recast on for something a little bit bigger. And the hat, we'll come back to that too in a couple of weeks. But for now, what I want to show you is what I've been working on this weekend. I have to tell you the truth. I didn't wait till Monday to cast on because I have been challenged to knit a colorwork sweater out of Lopi yarn, and I need to get it done in less than a month. I'm down to 19 days, I think. So this is what I cast on over the weekend. It's going to be a cardigan. There's my steek right in the center. And I have just been designing this, which sometimes I think it's been more like I have been winging it. I'll tell you about the yarn. It's Lopi. So I was knitting it out of the bulky weight. I have a huge stash of, well, not huge, well, I know, good size. I have a nice big tote, plus a few balls that won't fit in, of Lopi yarn. So this is the bulky, 100% Icelandic wool. I have a lot of this yarn, and I have a lot of odd balls that I've been collecting, just waiting to do a Lopi sweater. Colorwork, Fair Isle, something all over, nice and bright and colorful. So that's what I'm doing. So this is truly mix and match. I am going through my tote and I'm just using what I have. And I have a month to do this sweater. So this is what I'm calling my gauge to garment process, where I drew out a schematic of what I wanted my sweater to look like, which is just going to be a regular cardigan, long sleeve, a little bit of ribbing on the bottom. Took my measurements, did a nice gauge swatch, like a good size gauge swatch, in a colorwork pattern, did my measurements, did the math to figure out how many stitches I needed to cast on. So let me walk you through what I have got done so far. I just did a long tail cast on, and then I wanted something, I really wanted to have like a hem on the bottom of the sweater, but because this is bulky, I really wasn't sure if I actually hemmed it and tucked it under and tacked it down. It just seemed to me like there'd be a lot of extra bulk there. So instead of actually hemming, and plus that means I'd have to do a few extra inches that I would be tucking under that you're not going to see. And because I'm on a timeline, I didn't know if I wanted to waste a few inches of knitting for the hem. So what I went with was a Knit 3 Pro 1 rib. So it's got some stretch to it, but it doesn't have that really ribbed looking like a Knit 1 Pro 1 or a 2x2 ribbing. I like this a little bit more because it has more of a stockinette look to it. So that's what I did there. Then I just started picking colors. I picked the chartreuse, and I initially, if you go back and look on Wildflower Wool's Instagram and Facebook posts, you'll see I posted a little swatch that I had done, and I had initially done the chartreuse with some pink. And to be honest, I didn't do enough color work of the two colors to really get a clear idea of how the chartreuse and the pink would look together. In my swatch initially, it looked okay. Once I started doing it, maybe it was because the gray was up against it, the chartreuse and the pink, there was not enough color difference between the two, and it really blended. And you really couldn't see this little pattern at all. So I switched it. So I had knit almost this whole motif, and I pulled it all out, and I just switched out the pink for the white. And I'm much happier. There's a nice contrast, and you can see the pattern. So I am knitting this on a 47-inch needle, long, right? 47-inch length of the cable. So it's nice, and so it's all nice and stretched out. So I can actually see how big this is going to be for me. And my needle tips are a 6.5. I used a 5.5 for the bottom because I don't want my ribbing to flare out. I want it to kind of tuck in a little bit. Switched to a 6.5 for the color work, and I'm happy about this. I actually had started with a 6mm, and then once I got knitting, I just thought, no, I don't like the look of it. So I took it out and kept going with the 6.5, and I'm a lot happier. Let me show you just quickly the inside. You can see, check out my floats. So I've been really careful picking patterns here that have the motifs are really close together. So I haven't had to catch my non-working yarn. Every stitch has been, what do I want to say here? So when I'm switching colors, it's been no more than 4 stitches, which I think with a big bulky weight yarn, I would not want my floats any longer than this. But I think this is fine for a sweater. Nothing's going to get caught in there. So I'm happy with that. So I have honestly just been going off the top of my head with this. I have been picking out balls of yarn I've got a tote and another square little box kind of thing that I've got my yarn sorted out into, and I've just been picking out colors, and I've just been really, I try a little bit. If I don't like how it looks, I take it out. Sorry, my ball's on the floor, but this is what I picked for these two. Something that's got lots of contrast. See, and look at this. This is a really old ball of Lopi. I hadn't seen a ball band like that. Anyways, so this is really going into some deep stash diving here. So I have just gone through a couple of books looking at color work charts and looking for something that has, I don't know, 7 to 9 row pattern, and something that I don't have to carry my floats carry that non-working yarn, so something that has got a really small stitch repeat. And and you know what, other than this, the swirly pattern, I knit that just the way it was, and I added the little white detail just to kind of carry up the weight from the bottom. This was exactly how the pattern was written. This one down here, I added an extra row of the pattern just to make it look symmetrical. That wasn't how it was done in the pattern book. And this one up here was supposed to be, the blue was just supposed to be the start of a little border. And then I was going to do another dark and light blue pattern of diamonds or something. But then once I was doing this border, I thought, you know what? I just kind of like this just as my actual next band of color. So I just played around with it. I did have to undo a couple of rows to get it to look symmetrical, but I really liked how it looked. And I actually really kind of liked the blue in there too. I wasn't so sure because the blue, this icy blue, kind of ties in with the gray, kind of going light, dark, you know, just kind of alternating the colors. And that's all I'm doing for my color work. Just randomly picking some balls. Sometimes you have to knit with it. Sometimes they look good in the ball, like my pink. You can go back and look on Instagram or Facebook if you want to see what the chartreuse and the pink looked like in my swatch. And at first I thought it was looking good, and then I was like, no, it really wasn't doing it. And so I'm so glad I took the time to pull this back because I'm really liking the weight in here. So I'm just going to carry on. The body of this sweater has no shaping, nothing fancy. It is just a square. So I figured out my gauge, the dimension that I wanted to knit, figured out the math, I've cast on. So now I'm just going to keep working in color work until I've reached the length that I want for my body, until I'm ready to start for the armhole shaping. And as of yet, I'm still deciding how I want to do, what kind of armhole do I want to do? Do I want to do a set-in sleeve? Do I want to do raglan? I really want to do raglan. I don't really know why I'm debating, because I really do want to do a raglan. So I think I've just made my decision. So thanks for listening to me while I work that out. I'm going to do a raglan shaping. So I've got a few more inches to go, a couple more motifs on this. It's not going to be super long, but it's not going to be cropped either, somewhere in the middle. And my plan is to wear this when I'm on vacation in Norway at the end of the month. So I can't take too long in debating on how I'm going to do this. It's got to get pretty quick because I'd like to not be finishing it on the plane, which is my normal style. But for once, I maybe like to try to have it finished before I leave. I don't know if that'll happen or not. So I'm going to carry on. So everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking in on my progress. And as always, if you cast on something, use the hashtag #NewStartMondayKnits, post it on Instagram so I can see your progress and I can watch you knit along on a new project as well. So I would love for you to leave me some comments below, and of course always hit the like and the subscribe button if you want to be notified when there's a new video posted. So I think that is it for now, guys. I'm going to do a couple more rounds on this, pick out some new colors, and if you want to keep updated during the week, check out my Instagram feed and you'll see some new pictures of this pattern as it is materializing out of my head as I knit. Once we get up to the shoulder shaping, there'll be a lot more info on how to figure out that. We'll talk more about some measurements, so that'll be coming up in the next video as well. So until then, everybody, happy knitting, and I will see you next week.